County Board of Commissioners meeting for February the 26th at 6 p.m. At this time, we'd like to ask for an invocation. Commissioner Brady is going to give us our invocation.
Can everyone please bow with us? Heavenly Father, we come before Thee right now in the name of Jesus, thanking You for allowing us this opportunity to gather here once more and again. We pray that You will lead us and guide us to make wise decisions for Meriwether County. Please anoint us with Your knowledge, wisdom, love, and understanding that we may do the right thing. In the name of Jesus, these things and all things we ask of You. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next session is to adopt the agenda, but before we adopt it, we'd like to make some changes. Under new business, we have a proclamation to recognize Ms. Josie S. Walls on her 90th birthday, and like to move that up right after the department head. And also, we have a proclamation for Mr. Frank Rossetti, and we'll move that up right after Ms. Josie Walls' proclamation, before we go into public hearing. Making that adjustment to the agenda, can we get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to adopt the agenda with the changes. Okay, our next thing is, all in favor, I'm sorry. All in favor? Thank you. Our minutes for February 13th, has everyone had an opportunity to look over the minutes? All right, and is there any corrections or any comments towards the minutes on February 13th? If not, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor that we adopt the minutes as presented, and get a vote? Thank you. All right. The next thing on our agenda is municipal comments. So I'd like to recognize those in the city. Mayor Glover? Nothing at this time? Okay.
Getting back home, having to be back on U.S. home.
Glad to have you back. Any other city? I don't want to overlook anyone else. Thank you. At this time, we'd like to go to our Constitution officers. I see someone from the Sheriff Department.
We have
Nothing? Any other Constitution officers? Okay, not at this time. Thank you. We'll move right along to our department heads. All right, I guess I have to call everybody out. All right, Brent, nothing from 911?
nothing here.
And from Skip from our IT department? Ms. Jane?
I just want to remind everyone we have the litter law enforcement workshop this Thursday from 1 to 5, and everyone's invited to learn the laws of littering. We have Corporal Scott Carroll from the Department of Natural Resources teaching the course. Should be interesting.
Thank you. Any other department heads? All right, we have from Kathy. Planning and zoning.
Hold on, so you got somebody you want to introduce. Okay.
You could have put me on the spot already, huh? We'll slip through here. I just wanted to take a moment to introduce a consultant that we've gotten on board. He'll be here on a part-time basis. This is Butch Oliver. He has a tremendous history in working with building and zoning and community development. He actually has had 17 years with Henry County during their tremendous growth. So what we're hoping for Meriwether County, he's going to be here to help us get it started. He has been in the Building and Development Department. He has worked with SPLOST. He's familiar with stormwater, zoning. He's been assistant to the Board of Commissioners. Anybody? He's worked with environmental compliance and has had many other hats, including owning at one time his own business called Oliver Environmental. He had that for about 9 years. He has also been a state soil and water district supervisor for Henry County for 16 years. He and his family moved here from Henry County last year, so we are excited to have them as residents of Meriwether County. He and his wife, daughter, son-in-law, and 2 precious grandbabies. So I am honored to have him on staff as our consultant. He's been given 3 days with me, and we're trying to put a lot in 3 days to get that done, but in the 2 days we've had together already, my head's spinning. But we're hoping to have some wonderful things to bring before everybody here, and I'd like for y'all to please welcome Butch Oliver on staff with us.
I'd like to say just briefly what a good job that Kathy and her staff have done with Jack and Wayne and everybody. It's been very, very busy. You know, we've been talking about the county is going to start growing. Kathy, how many permits did you guys issue today?
13 this morning alone. And
Which
only
is,
2 were not new bills.
that's like a month's worth of permits in a day. So anyway, we appreciate what she's doing.
Thank you so much. And I noticed Ms. Carolyn McKinney?
Yes, I do have something. I actually have 3 relatively quick things. One is, did y'all laugh when I said relatively? Nobody laughed? Okay, thank you.
We knew it would.
Well, first of all, I want to let you know that our community has once again raised the money for the REACH scholarships for our school system for this upcoming fall. This is our 3rd year in doing that, and we have worked very closely with the school system to reach out to our community partners, and I want to thank the Board of Commissioners for their support, Ms. Jane with the IDA for her support, and several of our employers in the local community. So that's a great opportunity for those 5 young people, those are rising freshmen, because we're recognized in the fall. Anyway, thank you very much for that, and I appreciate that. Secondly, I wanted to let you know that we did kick off our Leadership Meriwether class last Friday, a week ago Friday, and we have 18 participants, which is a very, very big class. And the good news is, or interesting news is, that when I walked into the class, you know, it's like about half of them I had never seen before, had never heard of them before. So that's great. That means we are expanding our reach. So this is a very geographically diverse group. So lots of folks from the upper and whatever the other part of the northeast part of the county. So whoever has been soliciting them, y'all have done a good job. Thank you. And they'll be meeting with you all, I think, on March the 8th for your government session, if I have my date right.
That's right.
Close enough. Anyway, the last thing I want to talk about, and I'm still going to keep it less than 5 minutes, but don't turn the clock on, is we have joined a group of other counties across the state in a program called Get Georgia Reading. Some of you have already heard about this, but I really am glad that we have a full house tonight so that we can have lots of people to hear about this, because this is probably going to be, I was calling it probably a 5-year journey, but Dr. Griffin announced last week that it was a decade journey, it's a 10-year journey. So what this is born out of data that has shown to the state of Georgia that 65% of our 3rd graders are not reading proficiently at the end of 3rd grade. So that's 65% are not reading proficiently. Did y'all hear that? Okay. That doesn't mean they're not reading at all, but they're not where they need to be. And so this program has been organized by a group of very, very influential and knowledgeable leaders across the state, including the Georgia Partnership for Excellence in Education, the Governor's Office for Student Achievement, University System, Technical College System. So I have a list of the partners because I think you would find that interesting. But this group of leaders in the educational field has come together and designed a framework to help communities target the challenge in their local communities, because the data in Meriwether County is very consistent with the state as a whole. So we're not alone in facing this challenge, but it is a very, very significant challenge, because if you think about it, if a kid's not reading proficiently at the end of 3rd grade, then you got to start backing up and say, well, where do we need to start making sure they're going to get to that milestone? So we started talking about kindergarten and pre-K, and then the teachers are saying many of these kids show up in their classrooms at pre-K day and kindergarten day, and they don't have the basic skills to even begin to learn the skills that are required to go to the next level. So then we said, okay, well, how far back do we need to go? So we're going all the way back to 0. This campaign is targeting the 0 to 8 population. Now, when you think about the kids that start in pre-K, we can at least get to them. Those are captive audiences, so to speak, and we have some programs because we've developed a work plan. We have some ideas to reach those children, but where our really big need is how do we identify all these pockets of children that are not involved in Head Start, they're not involved in the daycares, and they're basically subject to whatever environment they are from, to give them these basic skills. And so one of the things that I'm asking of you and everybody here is to help us identify where those pockets of children are. If you know where pockets of children are, maybe a church has a daycare program, or maybe there's a family, community neighborhood watch kind of thing that they do with a group of kids in their neighborhoods. But reaching those children is really going to be one of our most significant challenges. But the good news is, we do have a large group of stakeholders that have come together. We've got about 45 people that have come around the table from all different sectors of our community, and we have worked very hard to build a work plan based around 4 recommended pillars. The other thing by that, I mean this group that has worked on this has identified 4 research-based pillars that the community needs to focus on, things that they got, sort of areas of work, if you will. So one is language nutrition, which I love that label because I've always thought of nutrition as being food, but there's lots of other kind of sustenance that kids need, and language is one of them. So language nutrition is one of the pillars. Being able to access the information is another pillar. The climate, the learning environment, is another one, and then teacher preparation and effectiveness is the 4th one. And one of the things we're trying to emphasize is that when we say teachers, we're not talking about teachers that are only limited to the school system. Parents are also teachers. Daycare workers are also teachers. We are also teachers. So we have our initial campaign. We had to apply to become a Get Georgia Reading community, which we now have been approved for that, which really doesn't mean that you're now reached your goal. It just means you're given permission to be sanctioned under this official program to get started. So again, this is a long journey, but if you think about it as it relates to our community and our future as a community, if a kid's not reading it proficiently at 3rd grade, then what happens when they get to 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, and so forth? They get further and further behind. And we've had teachers in the high school say their 9th grade classes are like at a 3rd grade or 4th grade reading level. Okay, so what the data shows us, the research shows us that those kids are more likely to drop out of high school. They're more likely to fall into wayward lifestyle, so to speak. They're more likely to wind up in the local incarceration program. They're less likely to get employment and become contributing members of society. So when we think about the future of our community and our challenges as it relates to that, this is a challenge for every person that lives, works, eats, plays in Meriwether County to be aware of and to get involved in some way. Now, one of the first things we did is we said, well, part of the first challenge we got is how do we make people know about this? How do we raise the level of awareness and the level of concern that we all need to have about the future of our community? And so we are launching an awareness campaign, and it does include things like me coming up here and talking to y'all, and that's why I'm so glad we've got a big audience tonight. To talk about this because it is so important. So one of the things I'm asking, if you have civic groups, church groups, any kind of formal organization or informal organization that we can go out and talk to, please let us know, because everybody needs to know about it so that you can find a place to become a part of it. Even if it's nothing more than, I promise I'll tell 5 people about this challenge we have in our community. We spoke to the Board of Education a few weeks ago, and they had a big audience, which was great. So I said, will you tell 5 people, will each of y'all tell 5 people about this challenge in Meriwether County and try to encourage them to get on board with this, because our future depends on it. And so this is our little campaign. This is in draft form, so I'm just going to give this to you. But we're talking about trying to get to kids, and we can get to them. It's just difficult. But Heard County has a program where they go in and deliver like a basket to the new mothers that has a lot of information about reading and other kinds of things about developmental milestones.
Carol, I'm going to interrupt you because I was thinking your biggest area is probably going to be those stay-at-home moms with those kids.
Yes.
And probably to go through the Board of Health with the WIC program and things like that may be a way.
Yes, and we do have the WIC representative at our table. We got, that's a great idea. Thank you. The housing authority, that's another place where there are pockets of people that, may not have access to the kinds of support in their environment.
Contact information here.
What?
Contact information.
For who?
For y'all.
Oh, wow, okay, you've got my contact information, but I'll give it to you. Anyway, this is our little campaign to start with, okay? And we're probably gonna go, instead of having t-shirts that depict like 5-year-olds, we're gonna probably design onesies so that we can give them out to moms when they leave the hospital. And the baby will go home, hopefully, with a onesie that says, "Read to me." We even thought about today, I told somebody, I said, well, now, I remember 100 years ago when women were pregnant, they wore these big blousy outfits, so to disguise their pregnancy, and now they wear those slick, tops that leave it unquestionable that they're going to have a baby. So I said if we could get, pregnant moms to wear that and have it flashed across where the baby is, read to me. But they're really, think about it, I mean, it's just a whole host of things that parents can do, teachers can do, daycare workers can do, that a lot of times we don't think about. And so this originally said, read to your kids, and we changed it because we're underscoring the fact that every child in this community belongs to all of us. And if there's a child that's not making it where he or she needs to be, then it's of concern, or should be, to all of us. So this campaign is called Read to Our Kids, because your future depends on it, and that's true. So if y'all want to take one of these flyers, again, this is in draft form, so hopefully they'll look a little bit cleaner and neater. Okay, I think that's all I needed to say. Oh, the other thing you can do, we have a whole host of volunteer activities. We met yesterday, and every block on the plan said, solicit volunteers, solicit volunteers, solicit volunteers. So we said, well, gosh, we've got tons and tons of volunteers scattered all across Meriwether County. And if each person or 100 of them, like Mr. Kuykendall on behalf of the Star Mercury, could say, okay, well, I'll go in and read one day to a child or a group of children. I know that's in your schedule, and okay. But one of the things, just to give you a quick example, other than the awareness campaign, and thank you for not starting that stopwatch, one of the more concrete things we're going to do right away is, Sandra Hudson does the summer feeding program, and the great news is she now does that in many locations throughout the community. So we are going to recruit volunteers to go, when the bus pulls up with the food and all these kids come running out, then we're going to have a volunteer there to read to those kids. So we're going to say, okay, grab your food and come on over here, we're going to sit down and read this book. And not just read to, but engage them in conversation about. And hopefully we'll have a few parents there, we can get to them. So there's a whole host of things, but again, the good news about this effort that's been organized by all these great leaders in our state is that there are a lot of resources available, a lot of technical assistance. In fact, we're working right now on a grant that we will deliver or send to the Governor's Office of Student Achievement by the end of this month, and up to $75,000. Now, I don't know, you never know when you submit a grant whether you're going to get it or not, but we think we got a pretty good plan, and the school system now has someone that they are using to help the community write grants, so that's good. Do y'all have any questions, any other ideas you got? If you think about ideas, will you pass them on? So we need volunteers, we need you to identify groups that we can talk to. We need you to tell 5 people. And lastly, if you want to donate funds to support this, we have a little bit of seed money, but if we're going to start buying t-shirts for kids and onesies for babies and give them books and all that, we got to have some money.
I'll pass it on to the Board of Health tomorrow. tomorrow. We have a meeting at 2.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Brian. Okay, thank y'all.
Thank you. Other
I'll
comments?
forward and the chief are here.
Okay.
See what.
Also, I just noticed since the chief is here from the fire department, do you have something you want to share?
I don't believe we have a report this time.
No report. And Mr. Hawthorne from Public Works?
No, I'm just looking forward to crowd level.
You and everybody else. Thank you so much. All right. Once again, Ms. McKinney, thank you so much for sharing that information. This challenge is not just for Meriwether County. This is a challenge throughout the state of Georgia. And you have to start somewhere. So let's Meriwether County champion on this opportunity. So once again, I ask those who heard this information, take heart to it. And you never know the difference in the impact that you can make. And it definitely starts very young. So thank you for sharing that. For those who are just getting into the meeting, we did make some changes in moving up some new business right after our department head meeting, so we're going to wait on a public hearing. At this time, we want to recognize, we have a proclamation to recognize Ms. Josie S. Walls on her 90th birthday. So we have a proclamation, and I will read it at this time. The proclamation is to recognize Ms. Josie S. Walls on her 90th birthday and declare February the 28th as Ms. Josie S. Walls Day. Whereas Josie S. Walls was the 9th child born to the late Deacon Joshua Spencer and the late Sister Bertha Mae Beth Spencer on February the 28th, 1929 in Savannah, Georgia. Did I pronounce it? Savannah. Thank you. There's a couple that I may get right. Y'all help me with it. Whereas Josie S. Walls married the Reverend Roy Roberts on September the 17th, 1952, and they had one child. Now, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Is it Bernice? Brendis Lynette Roberts. Following the passing of Reverend Robert, Ms. Walls married Deacon L.B. Walls on August the 11th, 1963, and they had two children, Lonnie B. Walls, Jr., and Bertha Jolene Walls. Deacon L.B. Walls passed away on March the 10th, 1980. And whereas Josie S. Walls completed grammar, middle, and high school in Savannah County? Savannah County. Okay, we're working on that one too. And graduated with honors. After graduating from high school, Ms. Walls attended Savannah State College, where she graduated in June of 1949 with a B.S. degree in social studies and a minor in English. In 1966, Ms. Walls began her graduate studies while teaching full-time and raising 3 children. In 1971, Ms. Walls received her master's degree, cum laude, from Atlanta University in social studies. And whereas Josie S. Walls taught public school from 1949 to 1987, while only taking off 3 years during this time in order to set up housekeeping, as a newlywed, to start a family and serve as the mother, and to serve as her mother's caretaker. Ms. Walls began her teaching career in Emmanuel County, then she taught in Twiggs County and Meriwether County, before completing her distinguished teaching career at Woodbury High School. At Woodbury High School, Ms. Walls acted as the assistant principal and served as the senior class advisor, yearbook advisor, junior class sponsor, and cheerleader coach. Ms. Walls was consistently recognized for her collegiate and students for leadership and skills as a valued teacher. It was named Teacher of the Year several years at Woodbury High School and was once named Meriwether County Teacher of the Year. And whereas Josie S. Walls remained involved in the community and civic activities with a campaign slogan of capable, caring, and committed, Ms. Walls ran for Meriwether County Commission and was elected in 1990 as the first African-American woman to hold an elected office in Meriwether County. Ms. Walls served 2 Ms. Walls served 2 terms as commissioner and held the office of vice chair. And whereas Ms. Josie S. Wall is a member of the Mount Venus Baptist Church in Gay, where she served as the finance clerk and the president of the motherboard, and is also active in the Cane Creek Baptist Association, where she served as a clerk. And now it be proclaimed that by the Meriwether County Board of Commissioners to make February the 28th, 2019 as Ms. Josie S. Wall's Day and celebrating of her 90th birthday. Proclaim further that the Meriwether County Board of Commissioners does hereby extend their best wishes for Ms. Josie S. Walls for many years of happiness. We're all going to come down. I also want to recognize, with this being Black History Month, Ms. Walls, we want to also show an appreciation for all the commissioners and former commissioners, how much we appreciate the work that you have done and the path that you made possible for all of us to be here. So thank you so much. And we will go down and take a picture.
Before y'all take pictures, on behalf of all commissioners, former commissioners, I want to say thank you so much. We stand on your shoulder. You've done such a great job, and we appreciate everything you've done for us and starting us off. And we thank you so much, and all your family and kids.
Can we get around her instead of her? Everybody.
Yeah, she didn't have to, we'll come to her. Okay.
We'll let them get around.
You can go over there. You can go behind there if you need a better shot. All right.
Miss Bell, would you make sure you do it right? You make sure you all are right here too. Okay. Because I'm just going to make sure I got all my board members in too, so I can see all of you. Ron, can you scoot in a little bit?
Get up here.
Well, come up.
We're going to send this to you to put the paper, okay?
One more question right here. Okay, you slide if you would. Okay.
Just go there so you
Is this everybody?
Okay, we
With all the board members.
You probably don't come up.
Yeah, that's why.
Excuse me.
Can't see way back.
On 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
On 3. 1, 2, 3.
One more?
Yeah, one more. Give me a different smile this time. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Good.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Look like you can take that short.
Yeah, they used to recruit.
Perfect, thank you.
That's good. You gonna do that again? Come on, Will. Okay, that's good.
Just one more time, let's give her a round of applause. 90 is a blessing.
All my students, all my co-workers, there. Thank God.
Thanks everybody. We have a second confirmation or proclamation from Mr. Frank Ruzzetti. I'm not gonna get it right. You may have to. I'll do it. Yeah, is Mr. Ruzicki or anyone here?
Mr. Rizicki's passed away, his family may be here.
Is his family
This was one that we did because he started the event at Warm Springs.
So we've already presented this to them
Already
at the
presented
ball.
this back for confirmation, yes ma'am.
All right, so I still need to read it though. Wow, I messed up the name. Give it to me one more time, Brian.
Like a picky,
Rizicki.
Ruzicki. The proclamation in remembrance of Frank Ruzicki. I'm gonna mess it up, I hate to say it.
Keep going.
Alright. Whereas Frank Ruzicki was born in Meridian, Connecticut on June the 22nd, 1946, and passed on July the 1st, 2018. Whereas Mr. Frank Ruzicki was married to his lovely wife, June Ruzicki, for 50 years and was blessed with 2 daughters and 4 grandchildren. And whereas Mr. Frank Ruzicki first arrived in Warm Springs in December 1973 as a young assistant administrator to the Georgia Warm Spring Foundation. And whereas Mr. Frank Ruzicki left Warm Springs 3 years later to become an assistant executive director for the Easter Seal Society in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Then returned to Warm Springs in 1979 as a deputy director of then State Management Facility, the Roosevelt Warm Spring Institute. And whereas Mr. Frank Ruzicki became executive director of Roosevelt Warm Spring Institute in 1986, where he served faithfully until his retirement in 2005. And overseeing a period of tremendous growth of the facility and service, whereas Mr. Frank Ruzicki, realizing funding for expansion and development of Roosevelt Warm Spring Institute could only be achieved with a public and private partnership, established the Roosevelt Warm Spring Development Foundation in 1986. And by the early 1990s, $11.2 million was raised through the partnership, which allowed the building and program expansion. Whereas under Mr. Frank Ruzicki leadership, the development of Camp Dream, the Center for Therapeutic Recreation, numerous other renovations and programs became a reality. And whereas today, Mr. Ruzicki's Center for the Therapeutic Recreation stand as a lasting symbol of his legacy and his unwavering commitment to the needs and the interests of people with disability. Whereas Mr. Frank Ruzicki, I apologize. Vision for the Warm Spring Institute Development Fund include the annual Georgia Hall Society Ball, first held in 1988, and continued as the premier black tie event in the area. Whereas on the anniversary of the Georgia Hall Society Ball, it is befitting that Mr. Frank Ruzicki is remembered for his leadership, his unwavering commitment to the Roosevelt Warm Spring Institute, and service to citizens in need. Now it be proclaimed that the Meriwether County Board of County Commissioners does hereby extend our sincere appreciation and recognition. And I understand that the ball was held this past Saturday.
Yes, ma'am.
So once again, we appreciate the fact that he served so diligently in Meriwether County and his commitment. And because of his type of commitment, this is why this institute still stands and still serving the community, not just Meriwether County, but throughout the state of Georgia. So thank you for his service. At this time, we made the changes to the agenda. Now we're going to a public hearing. Before we make a motion going to, is Mr. David where? Mr. Ward, is he here, or anyone here from? He's not. So if he's not here, we can't do it. We go into the public hearing. Okay. At this time, I'd like to make a motion that we go into the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay, there's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second that we go into public hearing. So we're now into public hearing. And Mr., all in favor? All right. The motion carries. We're in public hearing. Mr. Gay?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chairman, Commissioners, we did receive a rezoning request from David Ward Jr., and I did speak to him several weeks back about the matter. He had asked to be able to be allowed to rezone a portion of his 114-acre tract, which is down near the cove and close down to the river, from A1, which is 25 acres, to RD, which is a 2-acre minimum, for the future construction of single-family homes for family members. Now, Mr. Ward had originally proposed creating 4 tracts of 3+ acres along the river, and after I had conversation with Mr. Ward, he advised he plans to replace the remaining acreage into a federal conservation program. And we reviewed this request. We included Public Works, Sheriff's Office, and all public safety departments, and we also considered the standard for the exercise of zoning power in the determination as well. There were concerns that were expressed about the ability of public safety to access the home in the event of an emergency, and staff's review also noted that the access information was not provided, and there was no really mention of establishment of the floodplain. Further review noted that the requested property divisions would create 5 lots, which would place this under Meriwether County subdivision regulations. In conversation with Mr. Ward, when he and I talked, he understood this issue and stated that he would actually be fine with the creation of 2 lots as opposed to 4 lots. And considering these facts and understanding that our current land use plan is kind of moving away from the 25-acre building size for a single family, Meriwether County staff does recommend approval with the following conditions. And there are 10 conditions that we have listed for consideration. The property division under this application will be limited to 2 tracts of property, which the tract number 1 being approximately 7.49 acres and tract number 2 approximately 6.76 acres. The balance of the acreage would remain in the parent tract. And the 2 tracts totaling 14.25 acres shall be rezoned to RD, which is the 2-acre. But the remaining acreage in the parent tract shall remain in an A1 zoning, which is 25 acres. So the big tract would still remain in A1. Prior to development and or conveyance of lot, the owner shall provide Meriwether County with a survey provided by a registered land surveyor. The survey should include a 30-foot perpetual easement for the purpose of ingress and egress to each of the lots meeting Meriwether County specifications. Prior to the development and conveyance of lots, the owner shall also construct a drive access along provided easement, including all necessary stream crossings that will allow Meriwether County emergency vehicles to safely access the lots in the event of an emergency. The provided drive access shall be maintained at all times at property owner's expense and in a proper manner to be able to allow emergency vehicle access. Prior to issuance of a building permit, all necessary information such as floodplain elevation, stream setbacks, and water and septic provisions shall be provided to Meriwether County Building and Zoning. A 100-foot setback from the Flint River shall also be maintained, and all necessary creek and floodplain crossings be constructed in accordance with federal, state, and local regulations. All planned construction of the lot shall be subject to Meriwether County zoning regulations, including minimum house size. Now, this was presented to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and they recommended approval with these conditions. The reality of these lots is, and Mr. Ward's not here tonight to really address that, but he's got a large tract of land, and I think what he really wants to do is kind of leave the river frontage out of that federal program, and so he wanted to get it rezoned because of that. The reality of being able to build a house on this is going to be very, very costly. The floodplain elevation would have to be established since it's right on the river, and we all have seen that river, pretty high. The cost of crossing the creek, that's the same creek where our roads washed out, where we're going to do award a bid tonight. And so there's a lot of things. Plus, you got well and septic systems. You'd have to protect that from any flood, etc. So I think the likelihood of these being developed is pretty rare. But I do believe that what he wanted to do is just be able to strip off the river frontage where they could enjoy it and have picnics and various things like that. And I'll be happy to answer any questions the board has. I have not spoke back with Mr. Ward. The board could continue the hearing till the next meeting. You could close the meeting, whatever you wanted to do, and then take action. But I'll be happy to contact Mr. Ward. I think it would probably be good for us to do that because I'd like to get his comments and feedback on what we presented. So I think my recommendation at this point would be to see if there's anyone else in the audience that has any information and wants to speak on this matter, and then I would recommend we continue the public hearing to your next meeting.
Okay. Is there anyone that'd like to speak regarding this matter? Any of the commissioners have any comments?
I just want to comment. I thought it was our policy procedure that the applicant had to be here anyway.
I think that is right. I think that is right.
I don't have any choice, but I mean, I don't mind continuing it, but I thought that was our policy that they have to be here.
Right. It is exactly right.
So at this time, we just need to
I would just continue the public hearing until the next agenda. Because if you close the public hearing, you're not going to allow any more input. And I think it would be good for him to explain what he's looking
That would be
for.
March the 13th, so a day meeting.
Right.
Unless he has a problem with that, I guess we could go to the end of the month. But
Well, I'll make a motion here in the recommendation from the county administrator to table this until next meeting.
All right, is there a second motion?
I second. We got to come out.
Well, we got to come out, you have to come out of the public hearing before we do that. All right, so then we can go on to the next part of the other part of the public
All right.
hearing.
Okay.
So the
Yes.
next item is the Solar American Energy.
It is, and the applicant is here tonight. Mr. Ryan Peters is here tonight with Solar America. Kind of give you guys a quick review of this matter. Solar America Energy is requesting a rezoning and a special use permit to facilitate the development of an approximately 3 megawatt solar energy farm. The project area is a 36 plus or minus acre area being part of the 63.52 acre parcel owned by Merrill Jean Carlisle Jackson, located on Judson Bullet Road. Current zoning is RD, which will allow for development of residential at 2 acre lots. And they're requesting the rezoning to go to A1, which is 25 acres, with a special use permit for the development of a solar farm. Now, the request back under RD, I don't believe solar farm is an allowed use, but under A1, it has to get a special use permit. Now, the subject property is currently under Conservation Use Covenant, or CUBA, and construction of the solar farm will breach that covenant. However, state law has included special provisions that will provide for reduced penalties when the breach is associated with a solar farm development. I spoke today with the tax office, and they indicated that as long as it's platted and everything's brought in, there would really be no penalty in terms of breaching the covenant because of the state law that allows the solar farms. I guess that's part of the green energy, allotments, etc. The request was reviewed by county staff, and all the standards for exercise of zoning power were considered. And during the review, there was some concern expressed over the proximity to Meriwether County Elementary School. And issues were brought up, such as fire or other emergency that might occur in the air at the facility any evacuation that would be needed, and certainly evacuation of elementary school presents special challenges. The applicant has provided additional information to the county staff and Meriwether County School Superintendent that has addressed these concerns. He also agreed and met with some citizens and parents at the school on at least one occasion to kind of explain things that were, what they were proposing to do. Considering these facts, the county staff's recommendation is for approval with the following conditions. And these conditions were also presented to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and they did recommend approval as well. In your packet, you have, excuse me, a list of those zoning conditions, 1 through 11. And I'll be happy to read that. But in meeting with some of the citizens in the area, there were some concerns they expressed to me about the buffer and the setbacks and all that are indicated under item number 4. So under item number 4, and I have talked to the applicant on this, we wanted to indicate, of course, that the side and rear setbacks will be 100 feet. Originally it was 30. They've agreed, and you can hear it from the applicant in a minute, to have that setback be at 100 feet. With a screening buffer meeting Meriwether County standards and approval by the Meriwether County Building and Zoning Department. And this condition shall apply to the section of property that's 36 acres covered under the special use permit. Now, in addition to that, the applicant, it's recommended that we include this, that the applicant agree to maintain an undisturbed buffer for the first 50 feet of that 100-foot buffer along the side and the rear property lines, unless they can provide to the county a shade analysis that indicates the trees have to be removed. And that way, if there's original growth there, natural growth there, that screen the adjoining property owners, if they don't have to move that vegetation, the first 50 feet would be maintaining its current condition, and then they would have 50 more feet of planted buffer and the fence line. And if they come in and their solar analysis or shade analysis says, hey, this has to be removed, then we would require them to plant back a buffer meeting county standards to help screen that from the neighbors. So with that, we recommend that, under these conditions, the entire tract of property, 63.52 acres, shall be rezoned to A1. What that does is it moves it out of an R2, and if there were situations where, say, the solar farm wanted to expand in the future or there was further development on that property, then it would need to come back for a rezoning because the property will be in a 1 house per 25 acre zoning category. The special use permit for the development as a solar farm shall be limited to the 36 acre tract as shown on the preliminary site plan. Prior to the start of the operation of the facility, the applicant should work with the Meriwether County Sheriff's Office, Meriwether County Fire Department, E911, EMA, and the Meriwether County School System on development and approval of emergency operation plan, including but not limited to emergency evacuation, pre-fire planning, emergency notification procedures, and this is all in, the fires at the solar facilities, I understand, are very, very, very rare, but this again is an extra step that we feel like due to the proximity of the elementary school. Emergency 24-hour, 365-day per year contact information be provided to the Sheriff's Office, EMA, Fire, 911, and Meriwether County School. Number 4, I've already covered with the rear and side setback. Number 5, a woven wire fence shall be installed around the entire perimeter of 36 acres designated under special use permit. Fence shall be a minimum of 6 feet in height with additional 3 strands of barbed wire at the top. Fence shall be coated wire in either black, or green, or neutral color as approved by Meriwether County Building and Zoning Department. If the facility is damaged in any manner, repairs must be made immediately. If the facility is inoperable for a period of 12 consecutive months, the facility shall be removed at applicant owner's expense and the property restored to pre-development condition. The applicant shall provide Meriwether County Building and Zoning with a plan for removal and restoration of the property at the end life of the facility. Grass, brush, and other vegetative growth shall be maintained at all times for the life of the operation. Special use permit shall only apply for use as a solar farm facility. If there's another proposed use in the future, it would need to come back and have another special use permit. And then the owner applicant shall pay all taxes and penalties associated with the conservation breach prior to beginning construction. And with that, I'll be glad to take any questions that you have. And again, Mr. Ryan Peters is here with Soul America. Ryan, come on up and,
Do we have a sign sheet? Is he on there?
We've got a Christopher, is it Duke?
okay,
So I think he was first.
yeah. And, yeah.
Thank you.
And again, Ryan is the applicant, so he could answer any question the board has. He could give any comment he feels like on proposed zoning conditions, and we can go from there.
I just want a little clarification, either
Okay.
from the owner or from you, Mr. Gay. The total number of acreage is 63.52,
Yes, ma'am,
right?
that's right.
But only 36 of that is being allocated for the solar farm.
That's right.
But out of that, but it's not the entire 36 that's going to be used.
They will use the entire 36, which will include the buffering and the setbacks and all of that. So
Will
that
be part of that, okay.
be part of that
I believe
36.
27 acres, which meets the, you said something about the 25?
Yeah, what we were looking to do is, right now, that entire tract, the entire 63 acres,
So it leaves you 27 acres left.
right, the entire 63 acres is zoned right now is R2, 2 houses per acre. I didn't really know what the future plan of that remaining 27 acres was, but the request was to rezone it to A1. And so my recommendation and thought was that we rezone the entire tract to A1. That puts a 25-acre housing designation on that. And then we allow the 36 acres to have a special use permit, which will allow a solar farm development.
But at any given time, if they want to expand that other 27 acres, they have to come back and get another special.
That's right. They'd have to come back and include that because the special use is only for 36 acres. And if there's further proposed use other than one residence for 25 acres, the remaining tract and the owner of the remaining tract would have to come back in for rezoning as well. Yeah. And what we didn't want to do, and I know Ryan wouldn't do this, but we didn't want to have it where in the future the solar farm may be expanded into this without having to come back before this board and get it properly zoned.
And the only thing I want to know is, if there was an expansion, then how, once again, do you address the buffer? Because the buffer right now is just based on the 36, am I correct?
Correct. I will say the property north of the remaining 27 acres would be very tough to develop from a solar standpoint because there's a big existing pond in the center of that 27-acre area. And there's wetlands kind of surrounding the pond as well, which we don't develop in wetlands. So the likelihood of us expanding up there is very
So
unlikely.
you're limited right within what
We're basically limited to where we are in those 36 acres.
And if they were by some chance to expand, you would have the ability to add that buffer on the remaining perimeter of the property. Because the buffer really only impacts the 36 acres.
Correct.
And we provided you guys with information about the facilities. Brian, you want to just tell them just very briefly about Soul America and about, solar farm,
Yeah.
green energy, and
Kieran did a very good job of covering our project. Soul America, we've been around since 2009, which is relatively old for a solar company. We're a development and construction company, so there's some that are developers out there, and they hire the construction, but we manage the whole process. We built almost 100 megawatts of solar ground-mounted, such as this project. Mainly in the state of Georgia. We've got a lot of projects in the state of Georgia. We've got projects in South Carolina, Florida, kind of southeast, and some in Maryland and things like that. So we've got a pretty large footprint. These types of solar facilities, we call them community solar. Because of their size, they don't really get above 5 megawatts, and that's really our niche. Utility scale is something that you'll see that's like 200 acre to 500 acre developments. Those aren't what we like to do. We like to stay within these smaller developments such as this, and that's where our expertise is. So we're not new to this game by any means. This is a project that's tying directly into Georgia Power's existing infrastructure, so we'll actually tap in directly to their power pole that's right across the street from our site. We're working out all the interconnection stuff with them. We've been in contact, and we've built plenty of these projects for them. Just this past year built 10 of these projects with Georgia Power. So this isn't something that's we're going out and building our own. We're building it through Georgia Power initiative.
And right, am I right, there's no lights that will be...
Correct, we will have no
sound.
No lights on the proposal on the project, so no security lighting or anything like that. We will have a barbed wire fence and chain link fence that's 7 feet tall, so that's kind of our security. As far as any utilities that are required at the site, there's nothing, because nobody will be out there once construction is complete. These projects are very passive. We monitor them from afar, so we are monitoring their production every day, making sure they're up to what we need. If there's an issue, then we send somebody out in a pickup truck with, the panels are 6 feet by 3 feet, so they fit in the back of a pickup. It's typically a 2 to 4 man crew that comes out and handles that. So we don't have people on site every day. There's not a lot of traffic. We typically see about 7 to 10 trips per year out there, and that's for maintenance on, mowing underneath the panels and also fixing the panels. As far as sound, the loudest things that we have on site are our transformers. These transformers are the green transformers that you see in town. They're about 8 feet by 8 feet, so very standard type boxes. They're rated at about 60 decibels right at, if you're standing right in front of it and it's on and working, that means at about 150 feet it's inaudible. And that's with no barrier in the way. If there's any type of fence barrier or vegetative barrier, obviously it's a lot shorter distance for it to be inaudible. That's why we strategically place those on our sites kind of towards the middle, so that way if you're at the perimeter of our site where the fence line is, and especially where the property line is, you can't hear the project.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
I have one.
Okay.
What's the life expectancy of the facility?
So it's a 25-year agreement with a 5-year option. So 30 years ultimately.
And this agreement is with Georgia Power?
Correct. So they sign a power purchase agreement, so they're agreeing to purchase power from us for 30 years.
Who provides the equipment to tie you into the line? I know you're going from DC to AC and you got a sync with that line. Who does that, Georgia Power?
Yeah, so we basically run our line all the way up to about 100 feet from where their pole is, and then they handle the connection from there.
They take it from there?
They do, yeah. Yeah, we run underground all the way up, and then we'll have one pole, and then they take from our pole to their pole.
So the liability's in their court?
Exactly.
Anyone else?
Any other questions?
Do you have any other questions? Anyone from the audience would like to comment? I think we have one other person to speak. Mr. Christopher, is it Duke? Mr. Duke?
First of all, thank you for taking a minute to let me get my thoughts on it. It won't take me just a minute because I had no idea I was going to say anything at all, so I wasn't quite sure how this process worked. But I live next to the property. As a matter of fact, my front door opens up to that property. And I've spoken to some of the other people who live around the area, and I was hoping to see more of them out. And from what I was talking to, none of us that live around directly support the farm. From hearing them talk, and from what I'm hearing, I don't see any direct benefit to the citizens of the county. It's not bringing jobs. I didn't hear anything about lower costs, energy costs for us directly. Not that it's any relevance, but personally, I'm a combat veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan, so I stand staunchly for people's rights and freedom, and I staunchly believe that you have the right and freedom to do what you want on your property. But when what you're doing starts affecting other people adversely, and say property values, or even in my case, just the visual blemish of walking out my front door and seeing solar panels everywhere. If it were a situation where my sacrifice or the sacrifice of us who are going to potentially lose property value or whatever the case may be around, if it were the case that others were benefiting from it, then I could see, being for it for the bigger picture. But I don't see a bigger picture. I see the landowner profiting, and I see the solar company profiting, and I see Georgia Power profiting, but I don't see any of us really getting anything positive out of it personally. So that's all I got to say. I know you guys have already probably made your decision on everything, and you've had time to read over and research it, but I appreciate you at least letting me say my piece.
So your objection is mainly aesthetic, is what you're saying?
Aesthetic, I'm concerned with property values.
It's going agricultural, so that shouldn't affect you.
Right, well, it may not, but it's all the visual of it. If I want to sell my house later, and somebody comes up and they pull up and they see a field full of solar panels, they're not really going to care what the zoning is. So,
Tell me where you live in relation
I live on
to...
Judson Bullock.
Okay, I know where the driveway goes next to the school ball field, going
Right.
back to this property.
I live just on the opposite side.
Next to Moncrief, maybe?
Sort of, yeah,
Okay.
basically.
Here's a map if you, that's the school,
Yeah,
this is
you
the
want me to-
school here.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just cross it. Here's the school here,
I'm right here.
you'll be right here?
Yep.
Okay.
This whole.
This whole area right here. All right, the solar farm is gonna be limited to a piece of property right here.
Okay,
So from a visual standpoint,
okay,
all of this is gonna remain,
okay,
and it would be, instead of being able to be developed now at 2 acres per house, it'll go to 25 acres for one house.
okay,
So from that standpoint, living there, you should not have really an issue with visual. And it is going to include buffer requirements. And one thing that will come back to all of us as citizens, they will be taxpayers like you and I and everyone else. So just to answer
Show me where
that
this...
question.
Where it is. I'm just not familiar with the...
He's right here, and the solar farm is here, and there will be this 27 acres right here that will be between where he lives and the solar farm.
Okay, so you go past the school, and you turn and then come sort of back around, I guess, to your property, is that
Yes, ma'am.
correct? Okay,
Yeah.
all right, I'm just trying to
Loops
make
down
sure
on
where
the
it is.
side.
Okay.
I do,
Is that,
yes, sir.
that,
Yeah.
show you a
I
little
mean, it definitely makes me feel a little bit better about it, but I mean, it's still the reality of, the facts remain. And you mentioned Mr. Moncrief, I know he and I spoke, he was gonna be here tonight, but he's the one who encouraged me to come, actually. And I know his property would directly be impacted by it.
I think Mr. Moncrief did come to the Board of Zoning Appeal meeting
Okay, that might have been he was
and
referring to.
spoke. He had Ms. Moncrief at
And
that.
Okay.
I think he went to the one at school as well.
Mr. Peters, I do have a question. Thank you so much.
Appreciate your service.
Thank you for your
Yeah,
service.
thank you.
Just the fact that Mr. Duke just brought up an interesting point. I know everyone's in business to provide a service and also make a profit. So in reference to the fact that you're doing this in conjunction with Georgia Power, Georgia Power do service our area, what other way will this benefit Meriwether County if your work talk to the schools, or, what other way can the county as well benefit from the service? Because I'm just curious, wanting to know, how does that work as a neighbor in the community. Other than the fact you're gonna have these solar panels, you're selling to Georgia Power, offering Georgia Power service.
Yeah.
Normally, what else happens in reference to the community with that?
Well, one thing is taxes, so we will pay taxes on the asset that we're putting there, so basically, it's adding the value of almost a $300,000, $400,000 house without any of the additional utilities required to service a house.
Okay.
So there's that aspect. The other aspect is, there is no direct savings to a energy consumer, but what it does is help stabilize the energy grid, so that way down the road, we're not paying for, you know, more development or energy requirements from Georgia Power as far as upgrading coal power plants or something to that extent. So it's helping diversify their energy production, and so that way down the road, it's cheaper for them to maintain their system. So
I
that's,
think Georgia Power's under mandate to purchase a certain amount of power through solar, and isn't this the year that it has to be done by?
yeah, and they just renewed it again, so it's going to continue. But yeah, that started in 2016 when they started purchasing the solar. So that's going to continue. I think it's now projected out to 2022 or so, and you know.
You will also help stabilize the voltage in that area.
Exactly. So
the big thing is you're reducing the carbon footprint. 3 megawatts cost, it takes a good bit of coal to make 3 megawatts, so that's really where the savings comes about.
correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Okay.
Well, you mentioned the zoning meeting. I know some people did attend the meeting. What was the feelings, or was there oppositions? I've had people who live out there to contact me, but after they went to the meeting, I didn't have a single person to come back and say they were opposed to it, so I would...
Well, I think at the meeting, there was a lot of unknowns up front. But I will say that when they left, they said, well, we feel a whole lot better about it, and they're not back here tonight. There are some other citizens that I met with there, and of course, it's, it's again an issue, we'd rather not have it, but I do think that some of the conditions that we placed on there mitigates a lot of the concerns, such as visual, so while everybody, I think, most people would rather not have it, they'd rather it remain open and rural and woods. It's going to change through time, and I think they realize that. And the conditions that we've added, I think, help mitigate the process and the concerns to the best that we can.
Right now, we have 2 existing solar farms, the one right across the road over here and the one right on the edge of the cove. What kind of complaints are we getting from those?
I've not received any complaints. I think I may have gotten a complaint to somebody that said, well, they're not attractive. The cove has a lot of topography changes, so there's a good chance you can see the cove from somewhere. This property hopefully won't have that. As far as the ones over here, I've never seen anybody come or go. They even at one time talked about using some more property here and having it where they could supply the school and the county buildings, etc. That's been a couple or 3 years ago that we talked about that, but there was some interest in that.
Can I ask a question to Mr. D?
Yes.
Are you satisfied at all with the explanation of where it would be? I mean, it seems like you're probably the nearest
Well, I mean,
property.
that helps me a little bit, because, the way I was visualizing it was literally outside my front door. That does make me feel better. However, I'm not speaking just on my behalf, but it's gonna affect other people in terms of their property and stuff. I mean, there's other people to be considered other than just myself, and
And what about the property values? You said if it remains...
If it remains agricultural, how would that, if it becomes agricultural, how would that impact your property values? I would think that it wouldn't.
Right. Well, like I said, it's not so much if I wanted to list my house.
Probably resale value.
Yeah, but it's not more marketability. You know what I mean? It's if somebody pulls up and they see you know,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
you know, whatever solar panels, they're not gonna care what the zoning is. You know what I mean? It's not gonna make a difference to them if it's A1 or A2 or RD or whatever, they're not gonna care. They're gonna say there's a field full of solar panels. You know what I mean? So,
But having located it over on the corner of the 36 acres, will they be able to see it from your house now?
from my house, from the sounds of it, they're not.
Okay.
So, but,
So when you go back to the property, I know there's the lake you talked about, so is the solar system on this side of the lake?
Yeah,
As you're
and-
coming in?
Let me, I'll show you guys, I'm sorry, I don't have a, this is the, okay, yeah, he's got a good visual here.
Yeah.
And this is the, and I'll hold it up if you like. Okay.
Pull it up on the big screen. This is the school right here.
Okay, this is it here. This is where you're gonna come in next to the school. This is gonna be the proposed solar here is in place. So this is gonna be this view.
This would be, of course, the farm. Here's the school.
The solar's sitting all the way back here.
Here's the 27 acres that were buffered, Mr. Dukes. I did meet with the property owner that lives right here yesterday, and I met with her a few minutes beforehand, and we're gonna try to
I'm sorry.
buffer this very well where, you know, the visual impact will be minimal.
I'm sorry, we have several conversations going on, and at this time, we really need to hear what Mr. Gay is saying. So I appreciate if we would not have so many sideline conversations right now. Thank you.
Okay. This is the school. This is the track here that comes around. This whole thing is a 63-acre tract. What they're proposing is to take 36 acres of that, which is the south section of the property, and develop it for the solar farm. Their original plan showed a 30-foot buffer. We've increased that to, recommended to 100-foot of buffer. We've now added a provision that unless it interferes with the shade study, which is to be sure they can get enough sun on the solar panels to be able to generate and meet Georgia Power's demand. But they've agreed, or I think they will agree to keep the first 50 feet in its current condition. So all of these like trees here would remain unless they prove they have to come down. And even with that, after the first 50 feet, they're going to plant buffers. They'll probably get about 7 or 8 feet high, at least, screening the fence, screening the panels. How high are the panels from the ground to the top?
They sit at rest at about 6 feet off the ground. At their max heights, what we use are trackers. They actually track with the sun.
So they kind of move.
They rotate very slightly with the sun. Their max height is typically 9 feet off the ground, but they're, like I said, on average about 6 feet off the ground.
Yeah, a lot of people think they're not attractive, but I think it's kind of neat, like if you ride through Taylor County, go in the morning and they're here, come back in the afternoon and they're there.
Yeah. Some of the wind, tunnels, Mr. Deek's property is right up here. It's beyond this point up here. Yes.
That's what I want, this
If you-
stops with the pond, so he is past the pond.
He's past the pond. He would be past the pond, he would be on the north property line.
Like this little map we got right here. So here's the pond.
Right.
Is
And
he
Mr.
up in
Deeks
here
indicated
somewhere?
that's where he was. Mr. Deeks, you want to come and just let's verify where your house is? One more time.
Show it on the bigger map.
Now here's the bigger map here, and of course here's the pond that relates to this.
So where you
And
at?
here's the school, and I think your property is right up here, right up there, yeah. So you're on this track right up here.
You're on the other side of the pond.
The other side of the pond. Yeah, okay. All right.
One quick comment on property values. We did do a study up in Illinois, actually. We have some projects that we're permitting up there. we had a property value study done because that was one very common question. And we had a certified assessor in the state of Illinois. She's actually on the board of assessors for the entire state of Illinois that ran the study, did all the property value impact studies. And what their evaluation came back and found is that there's no trackable or evident impact on property values when solar farms are built next to next to homes. And the way they did that is they would take a control site, so they'd find like a solar farm that's been built near a neighborhood, and they'd take one side of the neighborhood, a house that was built and can't see the solar farm, and compare that to a house that was built directly next to the solar farm within 100 feet of it, and they would evaluate those cell values. And what they found is that the impact was negligible. In some cases, it increased the property value very slightly. In some cases, very slightly decreased. One thing that they heard is they would also interview some of these people that have sold the houses in that area. And what they found is some real estate agents found that people prefer it because they have a guaranteed neighbor for the next 30 years that is quiet. It's not going to be some big residential development, or a lot of these are built on ag properties that it's not going to be a pig farm or something to that extent. So we do have that information. It was once again done in the state of Illinois. They used all the available information they had as they went out to Colorado and things like that and evaluated all these different states. So there have been studies done on that, not specifically in the state of Georgia. Haven't really ran into that issue too much, but what they found is that it was negligible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I do have one question for Mr. Gay. On this picture, I know the property owner that's right here is here tonight, and they may not wish to speak, but I believe you spoke with them.
I did.
Are they okay with the buffer and if they want to speak, that's fine.
And they are here. I did speak to them ahead of time. And
If I may, I did not sign up.
sorry.
You can still sign up.
Yes, and Mr. Threadgill, it's real easy to think that they're neat when they're not right at your back door. But I do appreciate the fact that he met, I'm so sorry. Yes, sir, I'll give you my John Henry. It may be famous one day. I do appreciate Mr. Gay coming out and meeting with me and talking with me, and we walked and we looked through the property. I'm going to tell you, Beth, I am not happy. I will say that I'd like to scold y'all in that I never traveled Judson Bullock, and as I told Mr. Gay, I had no idea this was going on. Heard a little tiny rumor, but by the time I knew anything about it, it was the meetings had been set at the school, so I made the second one there and talked to the young gentleman and talked with Mr. Gay, and he did come out, because when you look from my property, when that buffer, in the fall and the winter, you can see that hayfield, and that hayfield is going to be where those really neat things are going to be moving back and forth. And so, I'm not happy, but I figured it's coming anyway. And so he came out and worked with me, but I would have appreciated a letter or something. Never traveling Judson Bullock, I had no way of knowing there was a sign up that this was going to happen. And I understand that being more involved and paying attention, but I think if had I had a letter, I could have not. I've been scrambling for 2 weeks now, trying to research, trying to study, trying to figure out impact on my property, concerned, and we did talk about whether I would be blinded when they turn. The sun comes up beautifully over Mountain View Elementary School, goes down in front of my house, and so when they turn, am I going to, within 3 years, be glowing? And you assured me that I would not be glowing. And so, yeah, so I'm not happy, but I will say that the 100 feet, I asked for 125, but the 100 feet, and I asked for the undisturbed, if there's any way that gentleman can look. It's real scruffy, you know, y'all, and there's a lot of trees, but if they come in and take that down, there it'll be. And there will be that fence, and if he said 9 feet, so if they're above that fence, then there it'll be. And so, no, I'm not happy, but I also, you know, I hear the environment, I hear all of that, and I understand all of that as
Well,
well.
let me ask one thing on the vegetation. What about planting evergreens so you don't lose leaves in the fall and winter?
And we did talk about that, is planting evergreens, and we would work very closely on that. What I also suggested, since Ms. Parker's house is she's the most impacted from the visual standpoint, that the three of us meet and outline what we want to do in terms of buffer requirements there to help her with screening, and would be happy to do that. And
And
I
those
did.
pine trees come down too. You can see on the map, there's some pines that someone will be taking down, and so that's gonna,
On this property?
yes, on Dale's property.
It's right in this area right here, Miss Beth. And that is one of the things that when we met yesterday, we talked about that 50-foot of undisturbed buffer, because what that would do is it would leave 50 feet of the pine trees before they start, and then they would clear after that and plant more evergreens.
I don't know if they'd be able to leave the pines, because I think that's part of where, you can speak better than that than I can, that where the panels will go. But when I went out and took a measure, I tried to climb the fence and went over 50 feet and put a pink ribbon out there, and it was like, oh, geez, man, you know. And so then I thought, well, I couldn't get 50 more feet because I was by myself, so I couldn't make the thing work. I had to struggle and pull it anyway, but I said, okay, 50, if you'll give me 125, that would certainly help, but then he can't guarantee that all that little woody, scruffy stuff that kind of, you know, protects me from the hayfield is whether he'll be able to do that or not.
Does the equipment have to be in place before you can tell whether that's going to affect it or not?
There's not. So we do a shade analysis where we can take the existing height of the trees out there and project that onto our site when the sun's in its worst case scenario in the far west sky, far east sky. So we're going through that process right now. We've had topography ran on this site. So we picked up the heights of the trees. That's something that we're going through right now. And that's what I was talking with Darren about, is that we would, as soon as we get that shade analysis done, that helps us understand what area needs to be removed. And what we talked about is if we do need to remove trees on that area, on that side, then planting something such as an evergreen right on our fence line, so it helps guard the rest of our site visually. Now, right on the property line, and I believe on her property, there are already existing trees that obviously we can't take down and would propose not to take down. It's in that 50-foot buffer area, that undisturbed buffer areas, that we would have to do a shading analysis to figure out whether or not we can leave those in, and then if not, we'll work with planting something to help hide it.
Is it possible to do the shade analysis before we approve this? I mean, or is that something you wouldn't do if you didn't have approval to do it?
Well, I mean, the setback was originally 30 feet, and then, as part of the requirement, or part of the conditions, was to move it to 100 feet, so we already tightened our site as much as we could to accommodate that 100-foot offset from all property lines. So our site is already about as tight as we can make it. We have a commitment to Georgia Power to produce 3 megawatts. So, as we start getting tighter on that, we're have to go back through the process of working with Georgia Power as far as their evaluation of our 3 megawatts on their system. If it's less than that, then they have to redo the entire process, and our project potentially get kicked out of their program for the year.
How long would it take to get the shade analysis, particularly like
around the edge?
Around the edge.
Probably a couple weeks.
Okay. If,
process that data and get
okay.
it finalized.
Would it be possible for you and I to meet with the residents out there and take a look, and then we could give them a pretty good idea of what was going to remain, what was
Yeah,
not, and
yeah.
then before we ask the board to make that final decision, and you could keep the meeting open, the public hearing, or you could close it, and then we could come back with, however y'all wanted to do it. But that would at least give us an idea and like the property owner here may feel a lot better about that. And if the board would like to consider that, I think we could continue the public hearing, or if we do it, I think it would be good to go ahead and do it at our next meeting, which is the 13th, so it'd be about, I think that's right. 13th, March 13th. Would that work for you guys?
Yeah, that would be fine. And we still have to, even after that, we still have to get a landscape plan approved for you and everything.
Absolutely, everything else, yes, absolutely. But that'll give us an idea of where we are from the start. And I know there's some large oak trees over here right on the line. I don't think you guys are gonna wanna cut those anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that'd give us a pretty good idea.
Okay.
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 Thank you.
Okay. So with that being the case, I would say probably, in case there's any more discussion that we need to do when we come back, I'd probably just continue the public hearing till the next meeting. And in the meantime, I will get Ryan and we'll get a meeting set up, and we'll try to go out and get that answered and have that back.
Before we go out though, you didn't, by not going on Judson Bullock, you didn't see a sign posted. That's what you were saying, right? For rezoning. So my question to there is, when we have something of that magnitude that may affect different areas just besides that road, that's going to be the entry probably into it.
Right.
Why don't we make it so that we post on opposite or all roads that may involve every citizen? Because if she doesn't use it,
Yeah.
then we didn't do the citizens justice.
It's a very
by
narrow
posting.
entrance there too.
Yeah, it
That
is.
property, it's narrow.
Yeah.
And another thing that we have not done, but that I know Kathy and I have already talked about, is on future zoning requests, I'd like to see us mail a letter to the
Yeah.
adjoining property owners and everybody within 200 to 250
It's gonna
feet
be
or
very
something like that.
easy to do.
It would be,
And
it
like I
would
said,
be.
we got new direction in that department, and so it'll be
Yeah.
a great time to start some
Right.
new.
And I think that would have answered
Policy
that question of getting the word out to at least the property owners that were around. Obviously, some knew it, some didn't, including, we have actually a couple staff people that work for the county that live out in there, and they were not aware of it. So I did send it to them, to say, hey, be aware of this, but I think, we'll look and we'll make the change to do better signage and then notification as well. And on the public hearings, I did these tonight. In the future, Kathy will be handling these, and we'll help her any way we can. But I told her tonight she wanted to come and see what we did, observe, and I appreciate her and Butch being here tonight. But you'll be hearing this from them at the next, but we'll be here to help you any way we can. So my recommendation would be to continue the public hearing, and also just informally ask us to look at other measures to be able to better notify the public. Okay.
So because there's no action being made, and we're going to continue both the one with David Ward and this one, the solar, so we just need to just go out of public hearing?
Yes, and then, you need to,
And then vote.
vote to continue.
Each one separate.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion that we come out of the public hearing.
So moved.
And there's a motion and a second, all in favor? So we're now officially out of the public hearing. At this time, we'd like to make a vote. Since nothing was decided on the public hearing, we've agreed to continue it. So at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we have to continue the public hearing.
And we need to do each one.
Each one, yes.
So at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we continue the public hearing for Mr. David Ward.
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, we'll call for a vote. All in favor? Okay, the second item for the public hearing was the Solar American Energy, and we decided that we wanted to continue that. Can I get a motion that we continue this as well?
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
there's been a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, we'll call for a vote. All in favor? Thank you, everyone. Thank you for those who spoke on behalf of this and your input. And thank you, Mr. Gay, for your presentation.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to the next part is the unfinished business. Item number 1 is appointing to the Zoning Board of Appeal. Term expires 1/5/2019. I don't know if that was mine or
Well,
it was
it's
open to
not.
anybody. It's open to anybody. Is anybody else?
Yes, just 3 on that board, so it's not a particular district,
Does
so.
anyone have anyone they want to appoint, or we need to table this again?
I don't.
Anybody has? So I don't have anyone at this time, so,
I move we table, Madam Chair.
okay. There's been a motion and a second that we table this appointment to the zoning board of appeal. Any more discussion? Okay, if not, let's call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion carries. The second item is the appointment to the DFAX board to fill the unexpired term of Josie Reeves. This District 1 terms in June 30th, 2019. This is in my district. I'm going to make a motion that we table this. Currently, I do not have anyone to appoint.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. The third item is appointment to the DFAX board to fill the unexpired term of Mike Mills. This is District 3. This term's in June the 30th, 2020.
I'm gonna have to continue the suit. I've got some more arm twisting to do. I move we table.
I'll second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to table this appointment to DFAX. Is there any other discussion on this? If not, we'll call for a vote. All right, motion carries. All right, moving on to our new business, ordinance 2019 for the timber harvest procedure and second reading.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, Commissioners. On the timber harvesting procedures, we covered this at the last meeting. There were a few changes that we went back through, and I'll be glad to read it all, or I'll be glad to just go over the changes if that would be the preference. Just the changes. Figured that was it. I wanted to cover the changes. On the section 9-152, second page on bond required, we wanted to clarify under item B, the last sentence, because I think we didn't have our language right. Basically what it says that you have to have the bond in place, and then we've added the clause that says, otherwise, a valid replacement bond must be obtained and delivered to the building zone department or its designated agent no later than the close of business on the 5th business day. So what that means, if their bond expires and they're still working on it, they got 5 days to come back in and renew that bond. Otherwise, they're subject to a penalty. So they have a bond for $5,000. Okay, that bond is good, and I'll cover that in a minute, for a calendar year.
For a calendar year.
But if they start the project and the bond expires within that period of time, they've got 5 days to bring a new bond back in, or they will not be able to
But
continue.
the terminology that I had asked that we put in there was the calendar year. So the calendar year,
Right, and I'm gonna, and I made those changes on
Okay.
calendar year, yes.
Okay.
So that was one of the changes, and that was just clarifying, because it said something to the effect of, well, if the bond, becomes invalid, that we have to, within 5 days, we have to file for collection on it. That's not what we really want to do. We want them to rework the bond and have it come forth. And then, in looking at item number C under 9-152, there was a little bit of confusion. In one place it said calendar year, and one it said for 1 year. So in looking at that and reviewing it and the information that we had received, I really thought the calendar year was best. That allows us to be able to track them. That way, Kathy and her staff will know when they expire. So they won't be expiring, every day of the year, which will be hard to track. They'll all expire at one time and be renewed when they come back in. And so we made that change. At the bottom of number C, we said prior to transfer of said bond, the harvesting site ingress and egress drives, the driveways there, previously bearing said bond, shall be restored to its original condition and cleanup of the site be completed. So what we're saying is before you transfer that bond to another location, you've got to finish out what you're doing. You've got to restore that, take the old pipe out, and fix the drive accesses and fix the roadway back like it was prior to the access of the drive. Down on section 9-153 on notice required under A1, this I think was just a sentence that had been left out. On the notice, we're requiring that a map of the area which identifies the location of the track to be harvested be provided, and that the proposed travel route of the trucks will be traveling to and from such track and picking up the hauling materials and the timber that's cut. What we really want to know is, to the extent possible, which route are they going to take. That way, if we get complaints and they're going a different route, or there's a bridge that isn't sufficient, we can notify them, hey, this is not going to work for you. You're going to have to look at another route. So they need
that they have to take the shortest route to the main highway.
That's what the law says anyway. It does.
But the purpose of this also is so that if there's some work being done on the road that we may know that they may not be aware of, that at least we know this information.
And they need to be routed to, if they're 100 yards from a route, but it crosses a bridge or a dam or something that doesn't work, we need them to look for another route. But this will just tell them where we're hauling along, tell us where they're hauling. Looking over on to page 3, under section 9-154, we made a little slight change on the second line of paragraph A, and it says, for ingress and egress identified by the harvester pursuant to the notice requirements set forth. We said that the ingress or egress so identified shall either access or cross. It did read only cross, but it's not a matter of crossing the road, it's accessing the road. So we added access or cross any right-of-way of Meriwether County. Down under A1 on the gravel, we had 5-inch to 8-inch stone. That's a huge stone. I talked to Bill Cawthorn, and he said when you get up something that big, a lot of times it gets stuck between the truck tires, and then going down the road it throws it and everything. So we changed that to 3 to 5-inch size stone. And then the driveway is a minimum depth of 3 inches of stone to ensure mud or other debris will not be tracked from the county roadway. We also added Meriwether County shall also require the placement of geotextile fabric on all new drive cuts. We don't want to really put them on the existing drive cuts, because you put them on top of gravel, they just roll around. You got gravel in the liner and another gravel. So on all new drive cuts, we'll require that geotextile fabric, and hopefully that'll keep some of the mud from coming up and getting the tires. Another change that we're proposing here is this drive requirement shall apply to all county roads, paved and unpaved. I visited here about a month ago a road on a Sunday where we had gotten some complaints, and it was on a dirt road. They were coming right out on the dirt road with not a piece of gravel on the access road. So they were hauling mud out onto the dirt road as well. And then down at the end of the paragraph on number A1, we've added that prior to pipe installation, Meriwether County shall inspect the proposed drive entrance and approve the necessary size and length of pipe to maintain proper road drainage. Down on number 2, we indicated just a typo correction. No harvester, equipment, trailer, or vehicle will be parked on county right-of-way, and county right-of-way shall not be used as a loading facility for the operation. And item number 3, ingress, entrance, egress signs. We ask that a sign be placed at approximately 500 feet, and another sign at approximately 1,000 feet on each side. That will allow the traffic traveling in the area to know that there is a logging operation. The signs shall be a minimum of 36 by 36 inches, orange or reflective in color, and indicate either trucks entering the highway or logging operation ahead, or some similar language may be approved by Meriwether County. Item 3B, and I think we've got a, we're gonna have to correct that. It should be A. County roadways used for transport, they'll be maintained in a passable condition for all vehicular traffic at all times, and Harvester will be responsible for any damages caused by the timber harvest. What we have now is sometimes you might could get out in a log truck or four-wheel drive, but you can't necessarily get out in your car. And we're saying that they need to be maintained at all times, passable for any vehicular traffic. And we also added a provision under C that says mud, dirt, gravel, and any other associated debris shall be removed daily. We don't want them to go out and leave large chunks of mud in the road that could cause an accident or tree limbs, etc. And that was the changes that we had made based upon the last meeting and a review of the ordinance. And I do plan on meeting. I've got a couple of foresters that were very nice to give me their time and to go over this, and I intend on going back with and getting with them to cover it one more time. And once that's done, I also intend on getting the timber harvesters in, all of them, and I'll meet with them and kind of cover the rules. I don't think the ones that are doing a good job will have any problem whatsoever. And we do have some that don't want to get permits. They don't want to report it for taxes. They damage the county roads, and those are the ones that I think we're trying to manage. And so that's what we're looking to do. I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys have on this, and I don't know whether there's anybody in the audience that wants to comment or not.
So we have anyone who want to make a comment out of the audience? So at this time, this is our second reading, we just need to vote on this one?
Can vote on it. We have a numeric change that we need to make, and we'd like to get final legal review on that before it becomes effective. But what I would say is if you guys are amenable to permit it, pass it with the understanding that we'll correct the numbering, and it'll be approved by legal review. So it'll be contingent upon that.
I'll say, so based on the information that Mr. Gay has given us and the corrections for the harvest procedure on second reading, we want to make a motion that we pass it based on the changes that needs to be made from A and what's it?
It was just a numeric change on the
Numeric
numbering.
change. Also presenting this to our legal counsel for approval on this as well.
Just final legal review.
For the final legal review. All right, can I get a motion that we accept the second reading?
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
I'm sorry. So there's been a motion and a second to accept the timber harvest procedure. Is there any other discussion on this? If not, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item is our road abandonment and closure second reading. Mr. Gay?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chairman, Commissioners, we went over and already done the first reading on the road abandonment and closure. Coming out of that meeting, I made just a few minor changes to this. Over on page 2, under section 9, 162, I added a number 9 to the considerations that the board should consider in determining the criteria for the road closure. I added a number 9 that says any additional information that may be important in the determination or closure of the road. That was sort of a catch-all because we had already indicated, people living on the road, substantial public purpose, shortcuts, how it may impact public safety, whether or not it, exceeded the cost of maintenance, exceeded dollars we received. But I did think that adding, a number 9 that said any additional information that may be important in the determination would give you guys a little broader look in case one of those categories didn't cover some concerns. And the other one that I changed was section 9-163. This has to deal with abandoned, with the deeded right-of-way, and it's simply a change in the word, because originally it was written as an information sheet more so than a ordinance. And it says, if abandoned with the deeded right-of-way, it means that the county has right-of-way that we've accepted as deeded, then before the county abandons that, shall establish a fair market value and receive compensation for the property.
Wasn't that in there earlier?
It was in there earlier, but it says should, the county should,
okay.
and I changed that to shall. That was the one change that we had there.
The other thing I just want to ask on that, Mr. Gate, after having Commissioner Draper brought out about signage when you're getting ready to have a public hearing.
Right.
On this, will that also apply that it just doesn't apply to the road that's being closed, but the surrounding roads as well?
Yes, ma'am. We've included on section 9-161 additional requirements over and above what the state requires. That Meriwether County shall post notification signs of the proposed road closure at prominent locations in the area to provide notice to citizens who live or travel along the proposed route to be closed. Signage shall indicate the proposed closure and the date, time, and location of the public hearing.
Okay.
And we want to go to a little different signage, and Kathy and I have already talked about this. We're really going to go to a sign that we can put out that will have a changeable section where we can put it out and it'll be big enough to see, and it'll say zoning here for so-and-so, and you can actually just get them where you can pull like the right duct tape or whatever, and you just replace it next time. And that way you don't have to buy signs over and over again, and you can get signs that are big enough for the public to
Do
actually
me one
see.
favor, that's all I ever will ask of you. Don't put it out on sticks that are unequal. That's what I came through. I came through, there was one up here above the sign and one down here.
And if you need a example of how that looks, you send it to me, so I got a picture. Yeah, we will make them maybe on a tripod or something where they'll be a little better than that, yeah.
All right. Given the information Mr. Gay has just given us on the road abandonment and the section 2-962, item 9, the changes, and then I think you mentioned, was it page 9? Section 1-62?
It was section 9-162, I added a number 9, which was the catch-all.
The catch-all? Okay.
And then on 9-163, I changed should to shall.
Okay.
And they will ask if anyone in the audience wants to speak on that too.
Does anyone in the audience like to speak or have any comments on the road abandonment closure procedure that the county is considering adopting? Okay. Based on the information that the board has heard, I'd like to get a motion that we adopt a second reading for the road abandonment closure. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. So there's been a motion and a second that we adopt the second reading for the road abandonment and closure for Meriwether County. Is there any other discussion on this?
I have one question.
Sure.
When the moratorium was put on road closures, we know we had one request in.
Right.
How does this affect that request?
That request has truly expired. We never acted on it. I think it was during that period, it was just, not acted on. I do think that those residents are indicating they are going to come back with a request. They understand that we're working on ordinance. In fact,
So we can apply this to that request?
You can apply this to that request. You can. Because it's not been advertised, not been acted upon, and they understand that. Okay.
So there's been a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? If not, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. We've already covered item 3 and 4. So now item number 5 is the award bid of the Cove Road project.
Madam Chairman, Commissioners, Meriwether County staff opened bids for this project on Friday, February 15th. There were 5 bids that were received, all from very reputable companies, and they ranged from 207 to 149 and some change, which is really pretty close. The low bid was received from Pastime Construction in Woodbury, Georgia, with a total cost, including the optional toe and slope wall for the pipe outlet, of $149,156.50. The toe wall was something that Bill Koppel and I talked about, and it's a good thing to have, but we really wasn't sure exactly how it was going to, cost. This particular bid only indicated the cost of like $4,500, and I certainly think that's worth it because it keeps water that spills over the road from undermining and on the other side, and it'll tie the pipes together better. And we've looked at this. Pastime Construction has met the bid criteria, and they were the low bid. And of course, it's contingent upon receipt of their payment bond, and their performance bond is required per the contract. But once that's delivered, they would be in full compliance with the project. I did speak to the contractor today, and he's wanting to get started and anxious to get that done. And I will say that when this road washed away, we did apply for an emergency bid from GDOT. We did receive a promise of $75,000 for that. So while it's still money out of our pocket, it's still, the GDOT still, and that phone call saved us $75,000.
So we're sure that all companies that did this have the right equipment that's,
and we'll before they start, we'll go out and be sure, and Bill Koppel and I'll be in Tyrell on site, make sure everything's ready to go.
So what was the name of that company again?
Pastime Construction. Mr. Gary Jones.
What I'm hearing in this $149,000 bid, there's going to be an additional $4,500 for the wall.
$4,500 is included in that bid.
He did include it in the $149,000.
He did include it in $149,000.
That was not clear to me.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, he did include that, and that was, that price I thought was very good, and I certainly think that's worth the money spent there.
So we only got to come up with an additional $74,000.
$74,000
From the county?
from the county.
I got it.
Bill's got it. Yeah. So that 75 looked a lot, but I wish we'd have got more, but
I just know we need to start ASAP.
yes, absolutely, yeah. I did say today that once it's approved tonight, if the board approves it, then I will write them a letter and give them a notice to proceed. Once, they just need to bring those bonds in, and they said they'd go ahead and start working on those. And we don't ask for those particular bonds up front because they cost them money. We wait till, we do ask for a bid bond to guarantee their bid, and we did receive that, but we wait on the other two till after it's awarded.
how long will those bonds take to get?
How long will
Once
they
they
take?
apply for it.
They'll have this week. They should be able to get them.
And they'll be able to start this summer.
Right.
All right, based on the information that Mr. Gay has given us on the bid for the Culvert Road, for the Culvert project, and on the different 5 people who bid it, he has indicated that Pastime Construction had the lowest bid and meet all the requirements. At this time, I'd like to make a motion that we accept this and approve to award this to Pastime Construction. Can I get a motion for that?
I move that we accept Pastime's bid for this project.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second that we award this contract to Pastime Construction based on the stipulations that Mr. Gay has presented to the board. Is there any other discussion on this? If not, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Moving on, the next thing is a resolution making an appointment to the Meriwether County Board of Tax Assessor, Ms. Debbie Nelson. I'm not going to read this, but there is a resolution that is required by the state that once someone's been appointed to the Board of Tax Assessors, that the county acknowledge that in a resolution, and this in turn will be sent to the state. I don't think Ms. Nelson is here today, but she was appointed on February the 13th. Her time will expire December 31st, 2021. and she will serve once again on the Meriwether County Board of Tax Assessors. Do we need to make any motions, and it's just a
Just
statement?
make a motion to approve the resolution.
Okay, there's been a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any other discussion? If not, we'll call for a vote. All in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the report from the Finance Director, Mr. Bill Gray.
Hurry up, Bill, my dogs are hungry. I'm sitting here looking at them on camera.
Good.
So, you got to start reading.
In front of you, general fund is, we've got a lot of money there, we've got another $250,000 in EMS and the 911 that we can move up to general fund when we need to do that. Everything else looks good. You got any questions? I'd be glad to answer.
I know we gotta hurry. The only thing I'm gonna ask is, I don't know whether we do this for Mr. Gay or whatever, would like to have someone from the Tax Commissioner's Office to come in and also give us a little more update report on that, if that's feasible,
Sure, on the collections.
on the collection.
Okay.
The report I give you once a month comes from...
From her? Okay.
But we'll meet with her and get that.
It'd be nice for her to
It would be nice for her to come and present it to the board as a whole. Thank you. All right. Moving right along. Mr. Gay, report from the, was that it for you, Bill?
Yes, ma'am, that's
All right, thank you. All right, moving along, report from the county administrator.
Yes, ma'am, thank you, and I'll be very quick. The 2019 LMIG bids are out right now. I think they'll be here in a couple weeks, so we'll get those back on the agenda for approval as soon as they come in. With that, I have one other thing that I need to mention to the board, and this is, kind of sad news in a lot of ways. I received a call last week from our attorney, Susan Henderson. And as all of you know, Susan has an ever-growing private practice because she is a really, really good attorney, and she's good at what she does. With her growing practice, it places a real strain on her at times to be able to manage everything she has going on. And Susan really cares about Meriwether County. That's always been her, foremost interest. She cares about this board and the county employees, and we feel the same way about her. She wants the best for the county and feels at this time that her other commitments are preventing her from giving the 110% that she usually gives to accomplish the task. And due to her time constraints, Susan has asked that the county consider some other legal counsel for service on a regular basis. She does plan to finish up anything that's outstanding and said that she would always be available if we needed anything to help us. Susan's kind of like part of our family, and we're going to miss her. We all do sincerely wish her the very best and thank her for all that she's done for Meriwether County. She's been a great asset, and again, just a phenomenal person. And we're going to certainly miss her, but hopefully we'll find her some things where we can get her back down to help us as well. So I did want to mention that, and I'll be talking with you guys about where we go from here with representation. In the meantime, Susan will be there to help us with what we need to that determination is made. So,
Do we need to vote to accept her resignation? Is that a resignation?
it technically is, but I guess it probably would be good to, accept it, and regrettably, but accept it, and because I know that she's, a lot of times, she's here to try to help us, and she's running to try to get other things done, and the court calendar for her just gets bigger and bigger, and she's more in demand every day because she is very good at what she does, and so we're going to really miss her.
So at this time, we'd like, once again, and just commenting on what Mr. Gay said, she has been a great asset to this county, has assisted us in so many different manners. So we do know that at times people have to move on for whatever different reason, but we do appreciate the fact that she's helped us and been a great assistant to this board for the past 4 years.
Yeah. And she will, if we need her tomorrow, she'll come back to us.
And she and I are actually personal friends, and she does have the biggest heart of anybody I know of, and she and I talked on Sunday, and I haven't spoken to anybody else, but she hates that she did that because her plan was to retire in a few years and do this full-time, but it has become so much for her with her business that this time she has to pull away, so she and I'll still be friends.
And us too, we're gonna do, like I say, she's part of the family.
She's still friends
We have
with the
some
whole board.
luncheons or Christmas celebration, we're gonna include her, invite her.
That's right.
That's right, we sure are. Yeah. And she hated that she couldn't be here tonight. I kind of think it may have been a little bit emotional moment for her, so,
She had a big court calendar starting last week. I guess it's still going
And
on.
ones of y'all don't know, her brother's now also the mayor of Columbus, so
right,
I'm sure she helps him with some things too.
yeah, absolutely.
So at this time, we like to get a motion that we accept regretfully Susan's Henderson's resignation from, at this time, assisting the Meriwether County Board.
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second that we accept this resignation. Is there any other discussion? If not, I'd like to call for a vote. All those will accept this letter of resignation, and signify by raising your hand. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Smith. Is that it for you?
Yes, ma'am, that's enough for me.
Reports from the county commissioner. Commissioner Draper.
I have none.
Commissioner Bragg.
Real quick, the Lady Patriots are playing again tonight. Hopefully they won and we'll move on to the state. They did win in their last game.
Lady Warriors.
Lady Patriots.
Patriots. Okay, the only thing I want to bring up is this past Saturday, the Dollar General and Gay had their ribbon cutting. It was a great event in the rain. They had over 100 people standing there waiting to get their $10 gift card.
Did you get more?
No.
She initially told me it was gonna be 50, and I said, well,
Speaking of the Drinker Barrel Shop, I'm leaving very quietly. They are playing right now.
Thank you. And they also gave out 200 gift bags. And we met the district manager. He's very excited to be here in Meriwether County. It's a great location. It's going to do very well. This gentleman, I can't see his picture, but he had his own T-shirt made up about Dollar General, how excited he was having to have it here in their county. So it's a wonderful store. It's got a great asset to this county, and we're just glad to have him. Even though some people said they go to Harrison, they like the people in Harrison, but they're excited that they don't have to go that far anymore. So once again, a great new business in our county.
Shirley, you carrying your own camera crew right now?
Hey, whatever it takes. All right, that's it for me. Commissioner Hadley.
I just want to mention one thing, and you didn't mention about the theater, but the President Theater finally has been completed with, it has been about a 10-year project, and they did have an opening a couple of weeks ago, and I know in March they've got something planned, so an executive director will be on board coming from the Springer Theater in Columbus as of June 1st, so I think we can start looking forward to productions, and I think somebody's rented it for a conference, so you're going to be able to use it for lots of different things, but it is very, very nice. And even when it was operable, when I was many years ago, it didn't look as nice as it
No.
is.
It's been 40 years since I've been there to a movie probably.
Smoky and the Bandit's the last thing I saw there, so whatever that was.
But they're gonna get a bigger.
1976.
1970.
Is that what it was?
Somewhere thereabouts, yeah. They built it up in Coweta County.
He's about right, okay.
But Miss Jane also didn't give a reminder, and I just want to give a reminder about the spring cleanup. Keep Meriwether beautiful. Keep it on your calendar for April the 27th. We need teams to pick up litter, teams to manage and oversee the dumpsters. And so we got a little bit of time, so everybody get that on your calendar. And then, of course, you mentioned the litter workshop. That'll be tomorrow. That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner McCall?
I've got a couple of things I'm gonna have to touch on. My computer's being inundated and so are the phones. Roads are just, I don't know what the problem is this year other than the rain, but it seems like they don't accept just the rain excuse anymore. can we get a very, a proactive program going? So, I mean, when I say something about rain, they're saying, well, what were those machines doing when it was not raining? And we're gonna have to address that. The other thing, people are complaining about trash tremendously. And it's not just of course, I see it even out there on the state road. So there's a lot of trash going on, and a lot of roads are just being, no other way to put it, just simply trashed by the.
Tell them to come to this change litter law Thursday.
Well, I have, believe it or not, I have redirected a lot of these people that want signs and this kind of stuff to Miss Jane, so they'll take that. The other thing I want to kind of give sort of a shout out down at Lake Meriwether, we've got March and April, we've got to be through with the project we're working on if we're going to complete everything for the grant. And Mr. Bill's had some folks down there working, I sure appreciate that. Ronnie Hurd went down this last Saturday and took it on his own to install door closures. He put up new stainless steel mirrors in there that were required. The contractor had put up glass. He made some nice little benches and went back yesterday, I believe, and installed shelves, stainless steel shelves in there, so they look really nice.
And I've been trying to get in touch with the contractor, and
I don't think you're gonna ever be able to get in touch with the contractor.
He moved to another state, didn't he?
Yeah, he had moved to North Carolina. There is a, he left with us owing him about $2,800. Well, we already owe Ronnie, what, $400 out of that, just the materials he bought. So we could use that money here too. But other than that, we've got to push, we got to get her done, so.
yeah.
You had a cell phone, right?
I did, yes, sir. You sent it to me, and I'd have to call that. I just haven't got an answer. I know Bill was down there working today, and as far as the roads, he and Tyrell have been talking about, and, hopefully by the next meeting we can come back. We've already got some ideas of what we need from personnel. It's going to take staff to do it. It's going to take some more equipment. So we've got those, and we'll be ready to talk about that and a program at y'all's next meeting.
I think we need to come up with a way to get some more gravel. It looks like we're just gravel fishing out there in places.
Right.
We
haul it as fast as we can get it in, that's the
But the
problem.
biggest also problem is drainage. You can keep putting gravel down, but if you've got a serious drainage problem where the water is washing off, it doesn't help. I mean, the road that we had on Bishop Road was,
But we've gotten real compliments back
That's
on
the
Bishop
one-
Road.
But isn't that the one we got the email about?
Yes.
So was that after, before, or after they did
It
the work?
was actually after they'd done some work, and I went out there on the Monday that we were off here. I rode out to Bishop Road just to see myself, and we needed a little bit more gravel out there too, but we had equipment still out there, and we just hadn't finished. But I tell you, the road was in pretty good shape, and
So has
you
anybody
got
talked to
that.
them since it's been completed then?
yeah, I have
Or they
that.
have?
Well,
Not really.
But there's another person there that's contacted Bill that was very happy.
well, there's
with
two people. I mean, there's,
And what you're saying is right. There's certain drainage, but you give me enough gravel and I'll build you a bridge to England.
Remember that gravel is not cheap.
gravel's not cheap,
But the
especially
road,
when,
if they really felt that section of road was bad, I could take them on some roads that,
Do we have a need for executive session?
we do, but I tell you what I'll do, if you guys want, I don't have any real action needed from y'all, I'll call you tomorrow, if that would be great.
Oh, that will be great.
And I'd call everybody and just kind of fill you in on it.
My dog's back.
I don't want to be hungry.
That's all I had, man.
thank you. All right, since, at this time, with any, from public comments, anyone from the general public like to share something with us?
Please no.
Alright, if not, Mr. Farringay has just advised us that there is no need for an executive session, and whatever needs to be discussed, he'll reach out to us on each individual. Our future meetings, our next regular meeting is March the 13th, 2019 at 9 a.m. Then we're going to have a work session on March the 26th at 4:30. And then we have our regular meeting scheduled March the 26th at 6 p.m. So since we have a work session on the 26th, Can we also make sure, we've already done this once and had Public Works, but when we come in this time, can we come up with the actual plan and what we're gonna do?
Yeah, we
And that
admit,
discussion?
once to do that, we need to meet again and just finalize that,
Okay.
put it down, and we'll have that ready to go. We just, the last few weeks have been
Right, I understand.
difficult.
So other than that, is anything else, anyone else have any questions, anything? If not, we will adjourn the meeting. I'm sorry, I'm always doing it. I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn the meeting. So moved, Brian, and it's been second.
Who's second?
Deb seconded, all right.
I'm already voting.
So, okay, anyway, we call for a vote, all those ready?
Thank you.
Okay, meeting-
And I'll